So thank you, everyone. This is your host, Khurram Tauheed, with the program Career Search. So thanks to all participants, our task force members, and Zafar, especially to you. This program is a continuation of our series we started back in 2021 from our Friends Cafe YouTube channel. So thank you, everyone, once again. Just so you know, the Friends Cafe Club is a registered club here in Canada. We do have 9 chapters all across Canada, and we do conduct a lot of events in field of profession, social, recreation, and welfare sectors. We have chapters in Toronto, Vancouver, Calgary, Ottawa, Montreal, Winnipeg, Edmonton, Regina, and Saskatoon. Now come to my personal introduction. By profession, I'm a mechanical engineer and working as a project manager in a company named Nutrient here in Carson, Calgary, Alberta. So before I start today's session, I would like to introduce my co-host as well. With me, I have Neil, who is my co-host. And Neil, if you can introduce yourself as well, please.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Khurram bhai. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Welcome to this session that's going to be on tech careers in Canada. My name is Neil DeBello, and I belong to the IT industry. I work for a company as a sales and business analyst called Summerhill Group. And I've been associated with Friends Cafe for the last 2.5 years now, conducting various events. The purpose of today's session is to give you guys an overview of the scope of tech careers in Canada, and in the US. We have Khurram Tauheed, who's going to be our guest today. And he's going to do about a 25 to 30 minute presentation for you guys, and we'll go through that. Once that is done, we'll also do a Q&A session, and based on the number of questions, we have about 30 minutes that's dedicated to that. So before we get into that, I'll just pass it back to Khurram.
Yeah, thanks, Neil. So just so you know that Neil is also co-hosting this event with me. And as Neil has mentioned, that if you have any questions, you have 2 options. You can write in the comment section on Zoom as well. And those who are attending, as this program is also broadcasting on our YouTube channel, so you can put your comments on our YouTube channel as well. And we have Firoz, who is our task force member, who is taking, who's going to get all, who's going to receive all the comments and put together all these comments and send it to us, which we're going to ask at the end of this session, at the end of the presentation. So thank you. And by the way, just one more thing which I want to share with all of you, that please make sure that you are on mute during this session. Once presentation is done and then you have any questions, suddenly it will be an interactive session. You can certainly ask your questions, but few things, your questions should be relevant. And it shouldn't be, we do understand that you have a lot of questions, but make sure those questions important to you ask in this sessions. And later you can ask follow-up questions in our WhatsApp group or in the YouTube channel as well. So you have opportunity to ask a lot of questions, but because of the time constraints, we have certain constraint, right? So make sure that you're asking questions important to you. So thank you once again, everyone. And before, and without further delay, I'm going to go to our guest. So thank you, Khurram Tauheed, being with us. And I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself, by the way. Thanks, Khurram.
Thank you, Khurram and Neil, and thanks. I would first like to thank Friends Cafe to giving me this opportunity of presenting over here. So my name is Khurram Tauheed, as you already know, and I'm a software engineer and currently working with Amazon. I'm a part of the AWS, Amazon Web Services, and I am currently working in the identity team, which means that if you've ever worked with Amazon or Amazon Web Services and ever logged into it, you've already gone through something that I've worked on. And previously, before that, I was working with Upwork, which is the largest freelancing company out there, and which means that if you ever freelanced or if you ever search for any job in Upwork, you have already gone through the work, because the core features where you find jobs, you apply for jobs, that's something that I've designed. By design, I mean I've developed it. I was a part of the team and I was leading the effort over there. And apart from that, I am mostly a tech speaker. I speak on different conferences, like I spoke for IBM, there's a Europe-based technical conference, Geekle, I've spoke over there, and internally sometimes in Amazon. So that's why I think that I can provide all the knowledge related to tech to you guys. So yeah, that's me.
So thanks once again, Umar, just being with us. And we, as you know, that we Friends Cafe Club of Canada comprise of more than 3,000 professionals all across Canada. The purpose of these career fair, or career-oriented programs is to bring community all together, in one platform. And the purpose is that we can mutually benefit each other. So that's the purpose of this program. So thanks being with us. Before we go for the presentation, I have a few questions I'm going to start to continue this session, and then we're going to go to the presentation. And then after, as I said, as Neil had mentioned, we will go to the question and answer session. That will be an interactive session, and that will be very, interesting session. So let's start. I have first question for you, Omar. So what are some common carriers in this field, right? If that's the first question come to my mind, right?
Yeah, definitely. So when we say tech, it's a very, very broad field. And like you can cover from a software engineer, a data scientist, a system analyst, computer, like network administrator, everyone. But just for the sake of simplicity, I will just keep this session to 3 basic fields, which is like product management, data scientist, and software engineering, because that's what I'm the most well-versed in. Any follow-up questions that we have, we can always take it on WhatsApp, and people more experienced than me can reply to that, obviously. So again, so if I have to reiterate, so the careers, tech careers are any careers which involve technology in any way. It can be anything related to coding. It can be selling the things that are related to coding. It can be managing people related to coding. So all of these things, which are like, there are other professions in other careers, but if you just make all the careers around tech, they are just tech careers. It's a simple definition like that.
Okay. You want to ask questions here or continue to this?
Yeah, I think, I guess one of the questions that we may get later on, but just at the top of mind, what sort of experience or what sort of educational background do you need to get into this field? And when we come to Canada, we're often required to, switch our field. So is it easy to make that switch to tech if you're not from an IT background specifically? Are you able to tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So ideally, like if you like, every field has a prerequisite, and over here we also have a computer science degree, and that's kind of a prerequisite, but it's not a hard requirement. Like nowadays, like I told you, I'm working in Amazon, right? So there are a lot of people over here who don't even have a bachelor's degree over here. So especially in the big tech, the degree requirement has been, you can say finished, like not finished, but very much limited now. So if you are planning on entering into tech, there are multiple different ways which you can enter. I will also share more about it in the slides forward. But on the top of my mind, if I had to just, say a few small things, like this is like, I will just tell you a short story. So back in 2017, I was planning on doing my master's, and I got into University of Waterloo, and I was very excited about that. I was already an experienced developer, and I was on track and everything like that. But the fear of washing dishes in Canada and odd jobs, like everyone has, was in my mind as well. So that's when I started thinking about freelancing. I said, okay, I'm an engineer. What if I learn more skills, and after that I try and implement them in such a way that I don't have to do odd jobs and I can do freelancing on my own? So that's the easiest way you can do it. And I chose front-end development for that. And the reason for that is that it's very easy to get into. And we will come back to it later. So apart from that, data science is a very easy field, especially for engineers, because data science is all about maths. And engineers are well versed in maths. Not even engineers, like even with people with business backgrounds, they are quite well versed in maths and stuff like that. So there are a bunch of different fields where you can enter into, and I think it's quite easy to get into it. So that's the best part.
Okay, so you did talk about front end and front end engineering, and so what's the difference between front end and back end engineers, right?
Okay, so when we say front end engineering, we are especially targeting the world of the web development. Web development, when I say web, it means Facebook or any other website that we're using, even Zoom, where we are conducting this presentation right now. So what happens is that there's a part where you guys see it, and the other part where everything is happening on the backend. Like there are some buttons that you can interact with, and if you click on a specific button, then you get some data or which you show to the screen. That's what we know call as backend. So originally, like if you just think about it, what you see can be a small part of it, and what's happening on the backend can be a big part of it. And like 10 years back, like the way tech has been evolving, there was a very small difference between front end and back end. But as technology is evolving, we have very, very huge like interactive UIs and where like flash bars going on, a lot of different things, the differences started to increase. And in my presentation as well, I will try to explain, dig a bit more deeper into it, how this works. So just as to summarize, everything that you see, that's front end. Everything that happens on the back end, which you don't know about, that's back end engineering.
Yeah, perfect. No, that's a good answer, actually, especially for people like me have no knowledge about the IT. So that's a very good, so at least now I know that, right?
Yeah.
Now coming back to the tech market, right? Like if you compare US market versus Canadian market, like how you see these two markets, right? In comparison, right? Canadian market versus USA market.
Oh, the difference is huge. Like the US market is so much bigger than the Canadian market. The only problem is, I think, the immigration system. If that was not an issue, I think 80% of the tech people would want to work in the US. And if I just, if I just give you a number to explain how big the difference is, you can imagine that a developer working in Canada has almost 50% less salary than a developer working in US for the same level, for the same work. For example, I work in Amazon, right? So I have peers in my team who are living in Seattle. It's like 2 hours away, but the salary difference is at least half. Like, and the half, when I say half, it includes the dollar conversion, it includes the taxes, and obviously the salaries are much more over there. And the market is huge over there. I've seen people getting like $500,000 a year over there, like with people like 5 or 6 years of experience in tech. It's such a crazy market over there.
Oh, perfect. Oh, that's good to know. But anyways, so it means that we need to ask people to move, start moving to US. So that's fine. Oh, no, that's a good answer, actually. Thanks a lot. Just, shed light into this important part of this discussion. So thank you very much. Before we go into the presentation, Neil, you have any other question? Otherwise, we would ask Omar to go to presentation.
Yeah, I think this was these couple of questions have been a good starting point. I know there'll be other questions that come up as we go through the presentation. So nothing more at the moment from me. So I think we can get into the presentation.
Okay, so now we will jump into presentation. Before we jump into the presentation, again, I'm repeating, if you have any questions, certainly write in your chat box in Zoom and also in the chat box in the YouTube channel as well. And we have Feroz who is taking your questions. He's going to put together all these questions and send it to Neil. And at the end of this presentation, we're going to ask those questions. And same time, we will also ask you to come, you can open your mic and video and you can ask questions in person as well, directly as well. So both ways are fine to us. So over to you, Umar, again.
Thank you. Thanks once again. Okay, so the presentation, like I just wanted to, you can say like a disclaimer, like this is a short presentation, and with this, the purpose of this presentation is to just, open ideas in your guys' mind, like what is out there. And after that, I won't go deep into it in this presentation. The rest of the conversation, we will follow up in our question answer session. And I would encourage you guys to, if you have any question, just write in chat or whatever, like Khurram said, just keep on writing it down somewhere so that you don't miss it. And we will have more discussion into all of the topics later. So I will start with the agenda, and the agenda is like, we already had some introduction to tech careers in Canada, but I will go a bit deeper into it, like what it is, how it looks like. And then I would like to discuss a bit more on different tiers of the tech industry, like what kind of companies are there, where can you work and where can you have a career. And then we will talk briefly about the interviews, how to prepare interviews in the tech sector. And we will go a bit deeper into Canada versus US job market. I will tell you how to go from Canada to US, like the options that I know about. There might be more options, but I think I have researched a lot about it. And finally, there must be a lot of people, like we also did a few polls and there were a lot of people who are interested in switching to a tech careers. We will briefly discuss how what are some of the different fields where you can get into. We can also discuss a bit about what are the different entry job salaries if you're planning on doing this move, and we can take it from there. And finally, we will just briefly touch freelancing, because I saw like a lot of comments and questions related to freelancing. And as I told you that I have been working with Upwork, so I was on that side, like the people who make the freelancing website. So I might have a different view of how things work. So let's start with an introduction to tech careers. If you just like, if, for example, whenever I was back in the class, we used to start a presentation with a definition. So that's what I will do over here. It's like, I know it's a pretty old fashioned way, but let's do that anyways. So tech career refer to professional roles that involve the use of technology in some way. And these can be any roles. They can be software development, IT, cybersecurity, data science, like I told you, technical sales, technical recruiting, a lot of these roles. But we don't have time to cover everything over here. So just for simplicity, I'm limiting the definition tech careers into software developer, data scientist, and product manager, because these are the things that I think this is a very wide group that in which 70 to 80% of people will fall into. And okay, so now if we talk about the tech industry, I think it can be divided into like 4 different ways. The first is the FANG. Like every industry has their big people. Like over in tech, it's FANG. In finance world, it's the big 4. And so if we just talk about tech, it's the FANG, which is like Amazon, Apple, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and Google. They are the largest and most well-known tech companies out there. They have the most cutting-edge technologies that they work in. There are subdivisions, like Amazon has AWS and Google has, for example, YouTube and stuff like that, but we are not going into that detail. After that, we have the tier 1 companies. Tier 1 companies include, like, these are also very well established and very large companies, but they are not as good as FANGs. When I say not as good, I just mean in terms of stock value and in terms of the compensation. Not even compensation, like some of the tier 1 companies pay way more than FANG. The FANG term was mainly originated from like a finance guy who just saw like how quickly the stock was rising and how quickly the people were growing. And that's how they are termed. Like, if for working professionals, I don't think it matters a lot, to be honest. So we have the tier 1 companies, and after that we have the tier 2 companies, which are like well-established companies, and they are like, by the way, banks and stuff like that, they are a part of tier 1 companies because they're huge organizations. And then we have the tier 2 companies, which is like Uber, Salesforce, Square, Airbnb, well-known companies, but they are not as big. Like, for example, 1,000, 2,000 employees, stuff like that. And finally,
just to intervene you here, Omar, question here. This tier 1, tier 2, is the division is based on their financial transitions, or like what is the basis of this? Like in terms of huge, like in terms of employees, in terms of
everything. Like, it's almost everything. Their compensations and their recognition in the market, their stock value. And apart from that, like, for example, we have the world leaders, right? So for example, if Amazon or Apple gives a statement, things start revolving around it. So in terms of that, how much say they have in the market as well. So these are some of the factors in which these things are revolve around. And finally, we have the startups. Like, there are some pretty famous startups, but we have categorizing them in startup. For example, Zoom is still a startup, I would say. Like, in COVID, it peaked, and now it's a bit down again. So companies who are very much affected by circumstances, I'm just considering them as startups for now. Okay. So like I told you, the world leaders are FANG. So I would like to start my presentation in this industry with FANG. So I already mentioned FANG means Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and Google. And the reason I put a slide for working at FANG was that a lot of people underestimate what it means when working at these companies. Like, it's not about the salary only. Salary is a part of it, but the biggest thing which I like about it is the brand value that you get. Once you have the FANG, like, for example, any of these companies tag on your resume is like the best resume out there. People are just flooding your inbox with messages, and companies are asking you to come and give talks and stuff like that. And the second thing is that FANG companies are like the forefront of technological innovations, and like they are the early adopters. Any new technology, they work on it first, and after that, other companies come and start working on it. This is like not a very it's not a statement. Like, it's necessary, like for example, if you work in one of these companies, it's not necessary that you will only work on technological innovation or stuff like that, because there are a lot of these companies have a very wide portfolio. So it's quite possible that you are working on something which is not good at all, but you have to work on it. So it's a hit and miss. But if we just talk on the broader term, this is what it means. For example, Amazon has a lot of portfolios like Fresh, and then Goodreads, and then Chime, and then a lot of things. But AWS is like only one product out of 32, where technological innovations are happening all the time. So it varies from company to company. Now, I would just like to talk a little bit about the interviews. And if we talk about the interviews, like interviews in FANG, I would start with that, and I will slowly talk about how interviews in other industries work. So we have 7 different stages. The first is like you apply somewhere and you're shortlisted by the recruiter, and that's the first part. If you have a reference, that's the best thing. Like, you don't need to be shortlisted by an interviewer. And after that, we have a recruiter screening, where a recruiter calls you, ask your expectation, and after that sees if like both of the candidate and the company aligns to it, and after that the interview process starts. The first, like technically, if we speak about it, the first is technical filtering. They give you a like work home assignment, or something like a HackerRank or Cotality in tech world. They give you a problem solving quiz, you can say. You just go through it, and if you pass that, there's a technical screening. The technical screening is like 1 or 2 30-minute interviews. I've interviewed with like most of these companies. I remember Google did 2 technical screenings, Microsoft did 1, Uber did 1. Uber had a technical filtering, then a technical screening. For some experienced candidates, there is no technical filtering. For example, at Amazon, I did not had any technical screening. Microsoft, there was a technical screening, but there was no technical filtering. So it varies to company and depends on the profile, how it works. After this is done, you are supposed to give an on-site or virtual on-site for loop. What happens over here is that there are 4 to 6 back-to-back interviews, 1 hour each, and they just grill you all day long. Like, they just ask different kind of questions. There are technical questions, there are behavioral questions, human resources questions. Tell me about a time when you did this. Tell me about a time when you did that. Stuff like that. And once that is done, then you get the offer, then the salary negotiation and offer acceptance and closing. That's done.
So before you jump to the next slide, I would like to stay here actually. So I have a few questions. First question is this typical to all tech in companies, like you mentioned, like FANG company, or is it vary from one company to other company, like Google to Facebook, or Facebook to other Amazon, right? Is this typical to everyone, or is this like
it's typical to almost everyone. For example, the difference between Google and Amazon is that Google has 2 technical screening, Amazon has 1. The 4 to 6 interviews that I talked about, it's the same. Sometimes Google has 4, sometimes Amazon has 5. It depends on the interview level. Same is the case with Microsoft. First the basic screening, and after that, the 4 to 5 interview rounds. So
even though you have a degree, you have a certification, you have experience, you need to go through with this process, right?
And the funny thing is, it's so based on luck. Like, I know a lot of people who worked in Amazon for 4 years. They left the company after 2-3 years. They interviewed again and they failed. So thing is, like, I've already worked in
call
Amazon.
myself lucky that I'm not. No, I'm just.
Yeah. So
no, anyway, so that's good. Yeah, go to the next slide.
Yeah. So it's also luck is always there in every career, but so is the case with it as well. So one thing over here, how FANG's interviews are different. Over here, I will also like to touch other smaller companies and a bit more about FANG, like why, like FANG actually invest a lot in their interview process. Like, I remember pre-COVID, what used to happen was, for example, people who were in Pakistan or UAE, my wife is also a software engineer, and when we graduated, she got an interview from Google. So after her technical interviewing screening were done, they gave her money for the visa, they sponsored her flights, they sponsored hotel bookings, they flew her all the way from Pakistan to Europe, I think Germany at that time. And after that, they conducted interviews over there. And this irrespective of if you will pass or not. So basically, they are just investing $10,000 just to take an interview. And so you can only imagine how much invested they are, but this doesn't happen anymore. I think COVID changed a lot of people. I think they understood that interviews can happen on Zoom. So when I started the interview process, bad for me, I was in Pakistan at that time, and it was COVID, so I just did the interviews on Zoom. I missed the free flight to US. So okay, and about if talking about Fang a bit more, is that like whatever I'm saying, it's like valid till 2022. Actually, COVID and Ukraine war and everything just changed everything. Now everything is like we are in a recession or something like that. So like you might have heard that there are massive layoffs everywhere. Amazon announced 18,000 layoffs. Microsoft announced like 13,000 layoffs, I think yesterday or something like that. So, and hiring freezes and stuff like that. So this is how it's normally like in normal circumstances. So the good thing
Because
about
this
it,
pendulum ride is everywhere, right? This is everywhere. Every industry, like even oil and gas industry, we are from Alberta. We have seen this in past many times. So there is boom, and then there is a hiring and a lot of hiring, and then there is a firing and a lot of firing. So this is a pendulum ride, right? So ups and downs comes in every industry, right?
Yeah.
So we should like it shouldn't bother anyone, right? Just so you know, whoever is listening to us, just so you know, and especially if you're new to Canada or new to this market, North American market is a very common thing here, right? So nothing to worry about it like that. Oh yeah, you know. So there shouldn't be any panic on this one. I've been in this industry for almost 17 years, like in Canadian industry, and I've seen this many times, right? This ups and downs. So yeah, over to you, Umar.
Yeah, exactly. It's part of life, so nothing to worry about that. But normally what happens is like, for example, you get an interview call because these companies are hiring all the time. You can set your own timelines. For example, I remember when Amazon approached me the first time, I think my dad was a bit sick and we were in the middle of surgery and stuff like that. So I just told them that I will be available for interviews 3 months later. So they waited for 3 months until they could interview me. After I got the interview, after that I had to get married. So I told them, okay, now I have an offer, but I will join after 6 months, and they were fine with it. So, you know, this kind of flexibility only these companies offer. Like, obviously, there are a lot of other companies that might offer, but this is very common over here. So now I would just like to deviate a bit from Fang. We have talked a lot about it. So I would like to talk a bit about how the normal industry works. Like the interview process is a bit similar. Like the number of rounds are a bit smaller, but everything else is pretty much the same. Normally you have a full phone screen where you get like a technical interview or something. The purpose of that phone screen is that they want to judge that if more interviewers approach you, more interviewers invest their time in you, would you succeed or not? So that's why phone screen is important, and I really believe in that as well. So the difference between other companies and Fang is also this, that in Fang, it's all about conceptual. Like, for example, you don't even have a CS degree or you are a fresh graduate. The questions that they will ask you would be like, I think 3 out of 5 interviews would be the same as they will ask like a 10 years or 15-year experience guy. So that's the difference. But in non-Fang companies and a lot of other companies, it's the trends vary, but it's a bit different. For example, like I remember there's a company like Tata Consultancy Services, which is a huge company and it's related to consulting and stuff like that. So I was interviewing for them one day, and I thought it's technical interviewing, but they just made up their mind that they wanted to offer me. And after a 30-minute meeting, they just sent it their offer. So there can be 4 interviews, there can be a 30-minute meeting, and so the variation is a lot. But in that company, they were asking me more knowledge-based question. Okay, so you've worked on this tool XYZ. Tell me how this works. How will you do this? How will you do that? Related to knowledge specific. For example, in petroleum, what's the formula of petrol? Stuff like that. But in these companies, we are just focusing more on problem solving, how you approach problems, and stuff like that. Again, culture fit is very important, but I think it's equally important for all the companies out there. Mostly like if I talk about interviews, I mostly use the STAR method. Like in Amazon, it's very encouraged. STAR means situation, task, action, result. For example, if I ask you a question, I will first tell you, okay, so this was the situation, this was the problem, this is how I tackled it, and these were the results. It's a very simple method. Like any interview question, you can deal with it using the
I
STAR
guess
method.
this is true for any other industry as well, not only specific to IT industry.
Yes.
In other industries, there is a same norm. They always ask situation-based questions. So that's a pretty much norm. Actually, every other industry follow these days.
Yeah, like if you dive deeper into it, tech is like any other industry. The questions, the patterns, everything is like, because tech is relatively new, so they just adopted patterns from other industries. Like petroleum was more established than tech before. Similarly, like finance world. So the patterns are the same. You like there are small differences. Everything is same in that aspect. Okay. Now talking about preparing about tech interviews primarily. So if we talk about that, so the first thing, whenever someone talks about this technical interviews, a lot of the tech folks who have joined these presentation, they would know about this book, Cracking the Coding Interview. It was a book written by Gail Lackman, and she was a developer who used to work at Google. And after that, after taking like tons and tons of interviews, she wrote a book about it. And the book has everything from how to apply for jobs and how to negotiate your offers, stuff like that, and everything from there, and about different technical topics, practice questions, stuff like that. So it's a very good book. It's something which is recommended to anyone who's willing to enter into the software industry. Then PRAMP, I would like to show it to you as well quickly. So PRAMP is a very good thing. It's something I really like about. So PRAMP is like, when you talk about technical interviews or any other interview for that matter, you need to do mock interviews, right? So PRAMP is a website where you can do 6 interviews for free. For example, let me show you. For example, I will do startup practice session. You can do behavior, front-end, system design, data science, or practice with a friend. If I do data structure and algorithm, and this is like the most widely used category in the software industry. If I just go over there, I have 2 options. One is this: look, if you don't want to pay it, just discuss it, just discard it, go with practice with a peer. And over here, you can just choose any time slot. For example, Thursday 4 p.m. suits me more. I will just do confirm and reschedule. So what will happen after that is that you have been matched. So like I applied for it, there can be someone else who has also applied for it. So what PRAMP will do is they will just join us too. It's like a dating app, but for interviews. So, and what they will do is like one day before the interview starts, they will send an email to me and the send email to my peer, and it will contain different questions that I can ask. So I will just go through the questions. I will just prepare them, and after that, I can just go through it, and there are solutions and everything like that. And it's a very similar setting to how an interview works in normal life. So like if you don't want to spend any money and you want to do it, it's an excellent thing to do it. I will recommend.
That's first time I've seen this kind of.
A question on this though. Is it you mentioned that you'll be connected to a peer? So is he gonna interview you or vice versa, or like how would that work when you
Both ways
connected?
So the way it works is that right now I booked a 1-hour slot. So 30 minutes I will interview him. 30 minutes he will interview me. So you see, the last interview I did on PAM was 2018. And if you see, for example, if I just do this, feedback from your peer, good, strong, amazing, like some of the things this is how he rated me. And interviewer, he gave me great and stuff like that. And similarly, I also gave him some feedback, and they can do it. And when you join, you can also, meanwhile, you can see if you want to share your personal details or not. A lot of people don't like doing it, so that's fine. So it's like exactly like a dating app.
Speed dating, a really good tool, actually. In fact, thanks for sharing this.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like when I learned about this, I was just blown away. It was something I was trying to find, and then I found it, and since then I've been telling everyone about it. So after that, we have educative. Educative is like when we talk about different interviews, educative is a text-only platform where you can read stuff up, and it's like one of the most you can say excellent text content out there. And it's like only written content and stuff like that. And the best thing is that the founder is a Pakistani as well. They live in Seattle, and I know them personally as well. He's a great human being. And it's like rated well across all the companies out there. Even I used it before to get into Amazon, and it's something that you should do it as well. And they have amazing discounts for Pakistanis as well. And LeetCode is the third thing. So if I'm talking about different kind of you can say tech interviews, a big part of it is that you have to, I have not logged in. Just a second. I'll just quickly log in over here. So a big part is problem solving. So over here, what you can do is that you can just go and again, it also has online interview assessments and stuff like that. And you can just find different questions and you can solve it in runtime. You can just go like a good thing about lead code is that, for example, if you want to see that which questions are asked in different companies, you can just go over there and they will just rate it. This question was asked like 1,000 times. This question was asked like 500 times, stuff like that. So you can just go over there, and after that, you can just practice the top rated questions only. And a lot of people just get successful like this. It's in the premium version. I don't have it right now, so otherwise I would have shown you. But this is how it works. There is a discussion forum over here as well, where you can discuss different questions, and you can see this is interview experience. If you come over here, I'm pretty sure like Amazon interview, EPAM, Google interview, everyone shares their experience. You can just go read over there and you can see, you can get a good idea of how everything works over here. Okay, and finally, YouTube, everyone knows YouTube is like, I had to add it because it's so good. So yeah, moving forward, again, now talking about Canada versus USA job market, the USA job market is much more mature, and that makes sense. Like they have Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley started in Stanford University. It's a part of Stanford, and after that, it was a pioneer where all these tech companies were born. So it's like huge over there. And related to the salary difference, which I was talking about, I have an example with me as well. So this is another website. Like one of the main things I want you guys to understand is that there are some excellent tools out there, like I showed you, Pramp or Educative and stuff like that. Everyone should learn how to use them. So one of them is levels.fyi. Levels.fyi is an amazing tool and it helps you in negotiating your job offers. So for example, you see that, okay, you got an offer from Amazon, for example. So you see you open as, for example, a specific designation that you're going to work at, the specific level you are being hired. And over here, you can see how many people, what's the average salary out there. So any company you want to go through, just open it up. I think in the future slide, I have some comparisons as well. I will show that later, but we did that slide go. Just a second. I will open it again. Okay. So you see an L5 SDE engineer as SDE2. SDE2 is like from 4 years to 15 years of experience. It's a very wide band. The total compensation, average compensation in US is $242,000 per year. But if you just do Canada, for the same level, it's like 138,000 Canadian dollars.
And this is for experience between?
This is like very, this is just an average. It starts from 3 years and it ends till 15 years. It's a very huge band. So obviously the compensation varies, but you can say $138,000 is like the minimum band.
And is this for FANG or non-FANG companies?
This is for Amazon only, but you can find all the companies over here, all different companies, like all the banks, all the companies, everything you want to find. You can search in this specific website and you will know how the leveling works and how everything works. Okay. Okay. So again, so that's the difference, but the problem is that immigration system is different. While I'm on this slide, I just like to say that I got an offer. I got approached by US multiple times. Amazon asked me to move over there as well. We have, oh yeah, that's where I wanted to discuss L1 visa. Do I have it in this slide or not? Okay, yeah, let's move to this slide. So different ways in which you can move from Canada to US. The first is that if you are a citizen, there's an agreement, NAFTA, which is like North American something, and it's between US, Canada, and Mexico, which means anyone from US can work in Canada or Canada to US and exchangeably. So if you're a citizen, you will get a TN visa. And the thing is, you just need an offer. For example, if I was a citizen and I had to go and work on US, I will get the job offer. I will go to the border and they will just stamp it and that's it. Nothing else. Next day I can start.
Just one thing here. I mean, I don't know, people would ask this question, but just for my knowledge. So when you said that you apply for a job, you got a job offer, you go to this, visa office, and then they stamp it, and then you enter into USA. But before even you apply, because what I've seen in many industries, especially in USA, there are some restrictions that they always like filter you if you are Canadian citizen or I'm USA citizen. how you pass that filter actually, because if you put C Canadian citizen, right? Certainly in other industries, what I've seen that even if when you put C Canadian citizen, you're not going to filter for that job. You're not going to be applicable, you can apply for that job. Is that true here? Or you can just say, yes, I'm eligible so that I can,
Over here as well, like most of the tech hunting that I do is on LinkedIn. So, for example, if I approach a recruiter or a recruiter approaches me, I can just tell them right away that I'm a Canadian citizen. So, like again, a lot of companies are there who just don't go forward with it. But I've seen a lot of companies, FANG and FANG all do it all the time. But even non-FANG companies, they also like willing to sponsor your TN visa. But again, it's more related to tech industry only. The reason is that in US, there's a huge in the tech people shortage. Because of it, they need people all the time. And because of it, if you want to go from here to there, but again, this is only tech relevant. I've seen a lot of people struggling to move from Canada to US, and I've heard stories like that, but it's not the case over here. And
okay.
I just want to reiterate one more
No,
time that,
perfect. Yes.
yeah, not every company does that. So the other thing is, for example, if you're not a US citizen, then we have the L1 internal transfer. That's what I was going to do when I was moving from Canada to US. The condition about that is that you need to work in a company for 1 year, which has 70% of its income in US. So for example, Amazon is a US based company, right? It has good operation in Canada, but most of its operation is in US. So if you work for 1 year over here, that's it. You can just apply for it, and it's a very easy process. I think 2 to 3 month process, and your job is to shift it from here to there. So that's how L1 visa work. Yeah, and before moving to this slide, I mentioned that I had the option to go, but the reason I didn't want it to go was that if you go on an L1 visa, the problem is that you are restricted to Amazon only. For example, if you go to an L1 visa, you are just restricted to that specific company. If they fire you, you have to go back. You cannot apply anywhere else. So there are a lot of immigration related concerns. Like even though you get a better salary, but I think it depends on from person to person. Like if this something, the continuous tension of getting laid off or stuff like that, is this something that you're willing to do or not? So it depends. Again, and the final thing is that a lot of tech startups do this. Like they offer you a remote job and they apply for your H-1B and they wait until you get your H-1B. But this is the hardest thing. Like I've seen people who waited for 3 years in their H-1B and they never got approved. So it's something that happens a lot. So, but this is also a path. Okay, so yeah, and in the poll we got a lot of votes for this. What do you want to do if you're looking to switch for an IT career? And over here as well, like I think the first option for that would be a machine learning engineer. And the reason for that is that data science or machine learning is a very, very widely used degree where a lot of engineers move into. And the reason is that they are good in maths. And data science or machine learning is all about probabilities, statistics, predicting stuff up, and you just have to translate it into code. Coding is there, but it's not much. That's not the peak of it. The peak of it is maths. And again, a lot of engineers have experience in going through large data sets and everything. So that's where it's beneficial. And there's a story over here. Like there are a lot of people who share their success stories. Like if I open my story, transition to data science from electrical and electronic engineering. So if you just Google it, it will be filled with stories because it's quite easier. And the final thing why it's attracted to it is that the starting salaries, a fresh graduate can get up to $90,000. If they move into this field, which is like an experienced people in Canada, like for example, if some person is getting like 130 or something like that, and they have to get a huge pay cut, it's quite possible they won't bother about it, right? But the entry salary is more, so people are more attracted to it, and the growth can go up to obviously the sky's the limit. And there are a lot of different resources. If you just Google machine learning and YouTube, you will find tons of resources. But I have linked Coursera over here, which is like my favorite place to do. It's a Stanford course, which is taught by Andrew Ng. He's one of the pioneers of machine learning. It's a paid course, but if you don't want a degree, you can just go through it for free. And it's pretty good actually. And you also get
just for my knowledge, like I'm not the IT person, as I said before. So you said that you don't need like degree, you can just go get the course, get the course done, and then you're good to go for interviews. Is that true, or is that you require degree for this, if you want to go to the data science industry, or
you don't need a degree for
would like
this.
to become a data scientist, or
Yes, you don't need a degree. Like you already have one bachelor's degree, right? So that's more than enough. Like the prerequisite for machine learning is PB is fine, electrical engineering is fine, any kind of engineering is fine. I have a family friend of mine who was a material engineer. I think I remember talking to you the other day that he also graduated from University of Calgary, somewhere in Calgary.
we have a lot of examples. In fact, here
Yeah.
in Calgary, I know a lot of petroleum engineer. I hope
Yes.
that those are here as well. They're attending this session as well. I know those they did their petroleum engineering back home, Pakistan, and then they came to Canada. They struggled a little bit in the early phase, and then they moved from electrical or INC engineering or petroleum engineering to this data science field, and then they're now good actually. So they're happy actually. So, and this is one of the reasons we want to motivate people, especially if you are in the other engineering disciplines and having a struggle, finding a struggle to find jobs is, so at least, just for the, and again, it's a layman question. Approximately how much time you think it does require to move from, is it like 4 months, 1 year, 2 years, like, or depends, right? If I said let's say I'm a mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, I want to move to data science, like the duration, like how much time is going to require to move from engineering field to the data science field, right?
Before answering that question, I would like to say that learning never stops, and you can become an expert, and you can just spend like tens of years, and you might not be an expert after that as well. But to switch your field to get an entry-level job, I think 4 to 6 months is enough. Obviously, it depends on the dedication you put in, how much you study about it. But I've seen a lot of people moving this field from 4 to 6 months. You can start studying into it. Like even this course that I shared, I think it's not very long. There's a series to a complete series, and it's like approximately 3 months to complete. So,
and is it recognized by Canadian companies here or FANG companies, or?
This is a Coursera certification from Stanford. So Stanford is like worldwide known. So it can be work. But again, once you get a degree, or you can do a boot camp. There are a lot of boot camps in Canada as well, which are doing this. I've seen a lot of people after doing a boot camp, they were able to get into this. But 4 to 6 months is something which can be done. And yeah, it's people are willing to offer jobs because there are not a lot of very experienced people, because it's a relatively new field. So even entry-level people can get their chance.
So, okay, let's move on. Then we will if I'll get a time, I'll ask this question at the end. But okay, let's move on to the next.
Okay. The second thing is business analyst. A lot of people are very, especially for business graduates, like business analyst is like you just use data. Machine learning is also about data. Business analyst is also about data, but machine learning is more about predicting things. For example, ChatGPT or Siri, or for example, the things that we use every day, even Google search, that's all machine learning. We don't even realize that. Business analyst is more like business intelligence. For example, if you go to Costco, like you see there are some things which are placed near the counter. So the question that comes to mind is, okay, most of the people, when they are going to check out, they try to look for bubble gums or chocolates. So let's put it in front of the counter. So that's business intelligence. And so you have data, you have data to back it up, and then you make different charts, and you can understand from that what's the pattern. So you try to understand the pattern. In machine learning, you have data and machines understand that pattern. In business analyst, what happens is that human beings understand that pattern. So that's the only difference. And there are some certifications, for example, this certified business analyst professional. If you do that, you can get hired as well. So it's a certification that you can do. And if there's a certification, then there's a short way to tell people that, okay, yeah, I'm qualified enough. And a lot of people, friends of mine who came to this part, mostly went to Udemy. Udemy is an excellent resource for these kind of things. And every course is like $20 to $30. So it's not a huge investment. Again, 4 to 6 months, and you have a basic knowledge where you can get into an entry-level job. Then the starting salary is a bit less, but if you are interested in it, you can also use your sales experience or other experience. So you won't be starting as a fresher. You can utilize the experience after learning some skills. And like I've seen a lot of people who are in a marketing or sales job, and they learn some technology like SQL, for example, to manipulate data, and they can use it in their current role to promote themselves or grow further. The third thing is front-end development, which is which I am as well, which I also started. Front-end development is something which you can understand and learn very easily from online careers and boot camps and stuff like that. And it's like the reason I put it over here, the reason it's easier to learn is that whatever you write, users are able to see it. As engineers or non-tech peoples, if you are doing coding and you don't understand what's happening, you lose interest. So if you are new to this field, if you are able to, work on something and it shows to you, it's like, oh man, oh, this is what it does. So I think you get excited automatically, and that's something what I like about it, and that's why it's easier to get into it. And one question that I would like to answer over here is like boot camps versus online courses. I think it was asked before as well. So boot camps there are a lot of boot camps about software development. If you look over there, it's like tons and tons of them. In fact, like I think a couple of years back, University of Toronto, they approached me to do a boot camp on their web development. Like not University of Toronto, there's a third-party boot camp company which does boot camps in University of Toronto. So they asked me to be the instructor over there. So that's when I realized that if I can do it, if I can deliver a lesson, that means everyone else is like me, right? So and I learned myself from online courses. So instead of paying like $10,000, I think you can spend $100 and learn online. So, but that's just an opinion. The best thing about boot camps is that you get the motivation because you have a class. Like it's like a difference between self-learning and learning in a group. That's the only difference out there. I think the deliverance of lectures and everything, it's quite similar. The final thing is freelancing, and like the story that I shared in the beginning is like freelancing is something in all of these fields. If you're planning on being a data scientist or anyone like that, just learn the skill, make a profile on Upwork on any other freelancing site, and start bidding into different projects. If you start bidding into different projects, you will get, like, for example, even if you get some very cheap projects which nobody wants to pick, just work on it because it's for your learning, right? So that's what I used to do for front-end development. I was working in a specific language and I worked over there for like 4 years. And I've heard a lot from people that, oh man, I'm working on a language in my company and it's very old. And I think new technology is coming, I will get obsolete. And that's was my mentality as well. But the thing is that you don't need to switch a company for this. You are getting a good salary and everything like that. You just learn it on your own. And if you don't get the motivation, apply on different jobs, get the jobs and learn and earn at the same time. And that's something which I really believe in, and that's what I've been doing as well. This is my Upwork profile as well. You can have a look at it, how I've designed it, how different kind of jobs I've worked in. I won't go deeper into that. So I've already taken a lot of time in this presentation, but to conclude, I would just like to say that tech industry is a very lucrative thing, and I really love working in this field. And the reason for that is like high demand for tech. One thing that I haven't talked about in my presentation is the flexibility, the remote work and everything you can do. It's like huge. I went to Pakistan for 1 month. I worked over there. I went to, for example, while I was working for Upwork, I was working as a completely remote developer. I got my PR. I came to Toronto. I stayed over there for 2 months. I was working over there as well. So I just travel around the world. I went to Maldives. I was working over there. So, you can work all across the world. And the flexibility is something which I really crave about. The family friend of mine who switched his field from petroleum engineer or something like that to data science. The reason for that was that he was working in a very remote plant in Calgary where the temperature was very cold and far away from family and stuff like that. So when he was about to start his family, he said, okay, man, this is something I don't want to do for the rest of my life. And he switched to data science, and now he's living in Toronto and he's pretty satisfied with his job. Obviously, there was a career pay drop. He had to go through the consequences, but I think it was well worth it for him. But again, every person is different. Everyone has their own preferences. So yeah, I think that's what I have to share. And
well, thanks a lot, Omar. Thanks a lot.
Over to you guys.
Again, I don't know exactly what time is right now.
We're
Yes,
almost at 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock. So we do have almost half hour for question and answer session. So certainly we're going to take questions. Firoz, are you there? Has he already compiled the questions?
Yeah,
so what do you need?
Feroz has sent us a few questions. Thanks for that, Feroz. A lot of these might have been answered, but we can kind of go through them, and maybe Umar, you can add something as we go along. I guess one of the questions was, isn't Microsoft considered part of FANG? Like, is it that small that it gets into tier 1 instead of FANG?
No, like FANG, like I mentioned before, it's more about the stock, how quickly the stock rises. It's like, if you Google it, there are a lot of things like FANG, there's a term FANG Moolah. FANG Moolah means Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google, and after that, Microsoft, Uber, I'm not sure, L for Lyft, and A for, I think, Airbnb. So like people keep on merging these fields up and together. The reason Microsoft is a little lower than FANG is, I personally, to me, I think they are at the same side, but this is how the division is done. And Microsoft, I've seen that their salary is a bit lower than the other companies, but a lot of people use Microsoft as the first step to get into these big companies. Once you have the label of any of these companies, every other company keeps on giving you interview requests that interview us and stuff like that. So.
Okay, there's a question around how do you get the invite, or how do you build your reputation to get invited to some of these tech talks? So I think you mentioned that once you have companies such as FANG on your resume, I think you're contacted automatically. Is that, do you want to add something to that?
Yeah, that's true. And the second thing is, like, I've heard it a lot, fake it till you make it. Just write in your resume that you're a tech speaker, okay? People don't know it, but then someone invites you. The way I started was that I have a lot of friends in Pakistan who are starting their companies, or I have some mid-tier small startups and stuff like that. So they used to call me to deliver talks in their companies. And what I used to ask them is, okay, I will give a talk for free, but in return, I need a standee and my name on it. And that standee, I just used to share it on my LinkedIn, and it was written, I'm a tech speaker. So slowly, people started reaching out to me, and then it kept on increasing. So yeah, I think that's the answer to it.
Okay, perfect. We have a question around just starting a career in data analytics and business analytics. Someone's asked that they've just completed their postgraduate diploma from Calgary, but they don't have a job. So what are their options? I know you mentioned a couple of certifications for analytics. So the CBAP was one, I think, that you had mentioned.
Yeah. The certifications are out there, but if you've already done a postgraduate diploma, which means you're hireable, right? In Canadian market, at least. So I think the main reason, like if I ask, for example, Khurram bhai, if I ask you a question, the first thing you will say is networking is important, because that's important in every field. So that's the first thing. I see there are a lot of Pakistani people who have joined this session. We have a group chat like with 200 plus people. Just reach out to people, just understand who's in the business analytic market, ask them to refer to your own company. And the way I do it is, I've heard that the resume is very important, but I'm not the right person to say it, because the last resume I make was like 6 years back. And after that, I never made a resume after that. It's my LinkedIn. If you go through my LinkedIn, you will see that I have a lot of feedback over there, a lot of reviews. I have a proper cover letter written, and it tells exactly what I'm good at, what's my specialty. If you hire me, what I bring to the table, everything I've written over there. And so the companies that you work at. So I think the first job is a bit hard. And I think your best bet is through a reference. Just network people, apply to jobs on LinkedIn, and hopefully you will get it. And once you get the first job, after that, it becomes easier.
So like, just to add on what you have said, that yes, networking is very important and key tool to get job, not only in IT market, but in any other market, right? We have done a career first job session through First Cafe as well. And the purpose was like meet and greet session, so that, seniors can meet with the juniors or those who are looking for jobs. So this is one of the tool you can go to. There are a lot of career fairs. You can go to these career fairs, talk to the people who are there, certainly, and make connections. That's important. Yeah.
Okay, this next question is regarding technical filtering. So I guess it's part of the interview process that we went through. What's the sort of technical queries that are those related to your field or more sort of like generalized databases? Is there anything you can tell us about that?
Yeah. Okay, before answering this question, just I wanted to add a bit more on the last question.
Yeah,
And that
sure.
was that Friends Cafe is an amazing opportunity for that. Like when I came to Canada, I didn't know people at all. And I have a good social circle now. So if you're a part of Friends Cafe, I think I would encourage you all to come on meetups, join different groups, you meet people. Like don't come for the sake of making connections, just come for the sake of it. And you will understand that, you know, even if someone who doesn't look like he's a very good people, like he's an expert in his field, it's quite possible that he will surprise you. And I've been surprised like multiple times in different cafe groups. Coming back, okay, so there are two parts of this answer. Like I can answer it in two ways. The first is the technical screening done by recruiters. That's mostly done in a way that they get your resume or LinkedIn, whatever, and they look for keywords. For example, okay, I'm looking for a front-end developer, so JavaScript is a language, React is a language. So they're automated AI tools. They just filter to go through your resume and look for keywords. Okay, is this mentioned in it or not? So I've seen a lot of people just, you know, adding keywords in some way or another. And originally I used to think that it's like stupid, but now I am understood that it's very important to do that. And the other thing is that what was the other part of question? Sorry, I forgot.
It was just around like, what are the technical queries? Are they related to your field? Are they more around generalized databases? What the sort of things that at least you've come across in some of the interviews that you've done?
So most of the interviews that I build, they try to understand, they try to gauge what kind of experience I have. So they ask me questions like in a very broader sense. Okay. So for example, if I talk about Amazon, some of the questions that can be asked where is like Amazon is a company where you work with you have millions of customers, right? So they can ask you like, okay, so have you worked on anything which was used by a lot of people? If yes, if you found an issue, how did you tackle it and stuff like that? So, you know, it's like very general. They are like more non-technical questions which are given to you. And once you are done with that basic technical screening, the other technical screening is more about they give you problem solving questions. The website I mentioned, LeetCode, it's like similar to that. And after that, you just have to solve it, sometimes on a phone interview or like as a take-home task. So it's something like that.
Okay, perfect. There's a question around working remotely. I know you talked about flexibility and how you get to sort of travel and work at the same time. The question is, can we work in Canadian or US companies while living in Pakistan, but holding a Canadian PR?
Yes, you can, but there are a lot of tax implications. It's something which can be done, but you need approval from your company. For example, Amazon, it doesn't allow you to work for Amazon like outside of Canada for like 2 weeks. That's the official policy. You can work for 2 weeks, but not more than that. Sometimes if you are, there can be some, for example, I worked for like 4 weeks and there was an exception made for me and you need approvals for that. But if I live over there for like more than 6 months, the problem is I'm not a tax resident of Canada anymore. So that can be a problem. If you want to work totally remotely, then for example, Upwork, it's a US based company, right? I was working over there, but my employment was from Pakistan. They were paying me in US dollars and everything, but obviously it was not as much as they pay like people who live in US or Canada. But it was my employment status. I was in Pakistan, so they didn't care wherever I went. But if you're a Canadian PR and you work for a Canadian company, that's something you can there can be an issue for it. And one last thing before ending this question is that sometimes if a US company hire you, they have to pay like 15-20% more to hire you, and they have to pay 15-20% to the Canadian government to hire you. So it's something like if they want you to work for them, it would be ideal for them that you are in US. So probably they would like to, you know, either lowball you in some way, or like they will try to get 15-20% from your salary, or they will like they will apply for H1B or something like that. Some big companies like Facebook and everything, they pay good salaries, but that's a different, it varies to company to company.
So Neil, before we ask like more questions, we can go back to the people, attendees, if they have any question in person, right? So if anyone would like to ask any question in person, raise your hand. We will open your mic and we'll open your video, and then you can ask. So please raise your questions as well. Does anybody want to ask questions, like you think that it's, this is the time you can ask, right?
I see some hands raised.
So if you can just open the mic, Feroz, whoever has raised the hand, just open the mic and video, and then please open your video as well.
I think I saw a hand raised by Khizr.
So Khizr, over to you. If you can open your video, as you're the one who started, who were here before us actually in this session.
We finally get to meet Khizr, I guess.
Yeah, that's Khizr, can you hear us? Yes, there are some issues with this.
I don't know if
I'm hoping he's not bored actually.
Yeah,
because
there's a message.
So anyway,
sorry, my mic doesn't work. Okay.
Okay, anyway, so move on to the next one. Who is next actually? Is there anyone else?
Khizr has to reconnect. Two participants raised their hands. Osama Malik.
Osama,
can you connect?
Yeah, that way it will be interactive session, so that we want people to interact.
Assalamualaikum. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Osama, if you don't mind it, if you can open your video, otherwise it's okay if you.
I am trying to open my video. I am trying to open my video, but like my computer is not letting me do it, so it's fine. Okay, so I like just a brief background and then my question. So I just got into tech and after around 2 years of studying, doing a boot camp, and I was like, when Shamar was saying about how you can get into tech, it was almost the same thing that I followed. So for me, who just got into tech and want to you can say level up in a career, so what would be your advice about that?
Yeah. What's your expertise?
I am a front end. So, but yeah, you would find it awkward that I moved from React to PHP. Some people say that, but just like this thing. So,
okay. So, and how much experience do you have?
It's like around, I just said I just got into jobs just like 2 months, maybe. Yeah.
Okay. Osama, what I would like to tell you is that the job that you have, just keep doing it. Like you mentioned earlier, try and build a portfolio on your own. Like, if you're in tech, about GitHub, right? Yeah. I also have a GitHub profile. I used to make different, for example, I used to go to Udemy. I used to do some React courses, and the project at the end, I used to make it and showcase on my GitHub profile. After that, I started doing freelancing. One thing that you need to keep in mind is that not all companies allow you to freelance. So you need to make sure what's your company policy about that. Mostly a lot of companies don't have an issue with it as long as it's not conflicting, but it's something that you have to double check. And after doing that, try to work on projects that are more customer facing, like someone can use it, or the problem in the tech industry is that a lot of times you're working on something and it's being used somewhere, but you never get to see your product being used actually. And that was a motivation killer for me always. For example, on Amazon, Upwork, people are using it, you're getting direct feedback. So if as soon as possible, if you're able to get a project where you can, showcase your work to the world, it will start, growing you up. As you are a fresh graduate, I won't go into the details of how to, leading teams and stuff like that, because it will come with you with time. But yeah, that's my advice for now.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Osama. Over to the next one. Who is next?
Was Khizr able to connect? I wonder if he's back.
The host is not allowing participant to unmute.
Hello.
Hey, Khizr.
Hi, everyone. Actually, I think he unmuted the other Khizr. There are two Khizrs in the meeting. So anyway, so my question is related to something you explained before, but I just want to share my background. I'm a mechanical engineer, and I studied a few courses on Python, SQL related to data science and data analyst. And I was thinking that a data analyst has low entry barrier, right? So I should try and get a data analyst job. And I applied to so many of them, but right now I'm not getting a response. So everyone says that we should network, but I mean, is is there anything which you think can help people who are from a different background? And
So before he answer, let me ask this question to you, Khizr. How many people you have met so far in your field when you're searching for job? How many people
in my field or in
Yeah.
IT?
in IT field, right? Where you're still looking for job, right? How many people who are in job and you have met with them?
Personally, I have
Yes.
met like 4 or 5 people,
Yes.
but overall in FC, I have met a lot of people.
Yeah. So in FC, that's the yeah. So the thing is here, I would tell you, right? I don't know exactly what city you live.
Saga.
Mississauga, right? So we have our chapters over there. We have a lot of programs like cricket, this and that, right? Badminton, soccer. We have a lot of chapters, a lot of famous. And I don't know exactly, more than 300, 400 people join these programs time to time. And there are a lot of people who are from IT field as well. So I would certainly you need to make connections. You need to come out of your comfort zone and then start and certainly 3 or 4 is nothing. Like, to be honest, if you say 30 and 40, I would say 300 and 400, right? You said 3 and 4.
I mean, I have made online connections. I was just telling I met 3 or 4 people from FC, but I have made like connections online related to IT, data scientists, data analysts, tech recruiters. I have talked to a lot of people on LinkedIn, but I mean, it didn't really help yet. And yeah, so I mean, as you said that anyone can put 4 to 6 months and change their career. So that's what I wanted to ask. Like, okay, we have studied, I have made a portfolio. It is probably not good enough, but I mean, I didn't even get a chance to show it to someone or got an interview.
Okay. Well, actually, that's a very good question, and it's very close to my heart as well. Because a lot of people face this issue, and I understand your pain point as well. That you have connections, but what do you need to do with that connections if no one is helping you? So the solution for that is again, I won't be sharing a philosophy. I would like to try to give you a proper concrete answer for that. And the answer is that you need to find a way to showcase your talent. If you are a machine learning engineer, you need to show exactly what you can do. Have you heard about Kaggle?
Yeah, I'm on Kaggle.
Okay, so you see there are a lot of different different machine learning problems on Kaggle. Start solving them. Once you solve them, write articles on it. For example, if I have a Medium link shared in my PowerPoint slides, you can go over there as well. So what you can do is learn something, share it to the world on LinkedIn. Start doing posts over there. Let people know, let the world know that you know what you are doing. And slowly, again, the first thing that I can tell you is patience is the key. Like, if you're trying to do it in 4 to 6 months, you are good enough that you can enter into a entry-level position. But for every position, we know people who are 10 years experience, but they're not able to find jobs, right? So patience is the key over there. But what you can do on your end, you need to showcase the world that you understand this. You know what you're doing. Make projects. For example, if I talk about the front-end world, we have GitHub. I'm pretty sure there is people contribute in different projects on GitHub as well. Start going to open source projects, start contributing over there, add some code. So create CRs, code reviews over them. What do you call it? I think there's a different word for everyone, every platform, but it's like you make a code and send that for review. People review it, and after that they approve it. So this is hard, but eventually it will come to you. There's a very there's a quote which is very, very close to my heart, and it tells that luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So you don't get lucky like right away. You prepare for it, eventually you get lucky. So when the opportunity comes in, so it's quite possible the opportunity is someone in this Zoom call is hearing you speak and he might reach out to you. So just be ready and be prepared and be patient. That's my advice to
you. All right. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Maybe we have to see, is there anyone here who moved from other field to IT field or tech field in this in the attendees list? Is there anyone who can share his experience other than Umar, which we know? Certainly we know that.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
I think we have the right Khizr who's raised, has his hand still raised.
Yeah, so Khizr, over to you.
And we also have Kamran Imam, who might be.
Yeah, Kamran Imam is a good,
So he's there too. So if we can go to Khizr first, and then
we'll go to Kamran.
Yep.
Because I don't see any, right now I'm not seeing any screen, not on YouTube, not on Zoom. I'm just, based on what.
Khizr is still mute. Can we unmute him?
So Firoz or Zafar, can you unmute, please?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can.
Assalamu alaikum to everyone. So my name is Khizr, and by profession, I'm a front-end developer. So my question would be slightly would be technical. Just regarding to ask question in the interview process, just if you are applying on a FANG-based company, and being as a front-end developer, like having experience of 4 to 5 years of experience, I haven't seen and I haven't used much like the technical, apart from the common data structure things like array, hash maps, the default provided by the frameworks and all that. But how important is that if you do practice on the lead code, and they considering the time complexity, space complexity, and going to the string algorithms and the sorting algorithm, how important it is for these FANG-based company to consider that, and how important for as a developer to consider that, because working in like Pakistan-based companies, mostly people don't care about these such sort of complexities. They just ask for the work to be done. And this is something which is I'm very curious as a developer productivity, and how to optimize and go with a good code so that if you apply in a FANG-based company, so they can consider you while shortlisting. So that would be the first question, and the other question I will ask after the answers being given.
Okay, so this is a question that I also had in my mind, because I'm also from a front-end engineering background, and when I started, working for these FANG-based companies, that's something a lot of people have actually, and I'm planning on writing an article on it, a detailed article which answers all the queries which other people can refer to. But to answer your question right now is that this is important, but not that important. So for example, if I talk about 5 different interviews at Amazon or 5 different interviews at Microsoft, only 1 or 2 would be for algorithms, which is like, as opposed to for a backend engineer, it would be like 3 interviews for algorithms. Over here, it's quite possible that you just have 1. I remember my Amazon interviews, I had only 1 interview where it was core lead code, like front end, like I think it was related to dynamic programming or something like that. And the rest of them were non-lead code. So you have to prepare for it, but you also have to prepare for a lot of other things. So that's why front end is a bit hard, you can say, because you have to prepare for the backend engineering as well. And after that, you also have to prepare for front end specific topics as well. Most of the companies, including Microsoft and Amazon that I know for sure, have like a front end round where they give you a problem and you have to solve it in, for example, in React. So over there, your React knowledge gets tested and stuff like that. So yeah, does that answer your question?
I guess he's on mute again. Zafar or Firoz, can you unmute?
Yeah, it's unmute. So thank you. Yeah, that answers my question. And the second question that is very important for me also, that what's your opinion on a front-end dev as a career for the next 5 to 10 years? Because I got lucky and I got a reference with my colleague, and currently I'm working in a German-based company called Kubernetes. So the company is currently working on a tool like Docker, Kubernetes, and being as a front-end developer, I'm just working on their dashboard portals. So while working on this new Kubernetes and orchestration tools, I'm thinking for a switch in the DevOps field from the front-end side. What's your thought on that, and how do you consider the front? Should we stay on the front end side? Because I love front end, and as you said, that front end is something which is very easy to start, but it is very difficult to get hands-on experience due to the framework and the JavaScript, all that things. But is it a good thing to switch from the front end to the DevOps side? And how do you see the front end from the next 5 to 10 years, the evolving of the front end and the frameworks that is coming from month to month and six? If you consider in a year, like 2 to 3 frameworks comes and they just go. So like currently I'm working on Angular and the React, which is slightly stable from 2012 and onwards. But what's your thought on switching the field to DevOps side?
Yeah, so that depends a lot on your preferences. Like, it's a very basic question that everyone asks themselves. Do I want to stay in engineering for the rest of my life, or do you want to switch to management position? That's the first question that you get. Like, working in front end is secondary, right? It's quite possible that after 5 years, you're leading a team and you don't care about what technology is being used. You might be switch the field completely. As far as front end is concerned, I think after like a specific period of time, I think you have learned like everything. And after that, like every other field, it's not about the technicality, it's about how holistically you can think about things, right? For example, you have to think from a broad eye view. You have to design systems, you have to lead teams, you have to do stuff like that. So if you're able to think at that level, it doesn't matter you're a front-end engineer or a back-end engineer. For example, system design. In Amazon, like the system design is very, very holistic. There are a lot of concepts, even for front-end engineers, which are back-end related. But the thing is, you use them to, in one way or another, you need to know everything. So if you plan on switching from front-end to Kubernetes, doesn't matter, to be honest. It's part of the same thing, right? So you can go ahead with it. You have learned front-end, you have worked in it for 4 to 5 years. You're not going to forget it for sure. So even if you switch it, just experience. If it's not good, you can always come back. So it doesn't matter. Just try to, think holistically. It's not about the technology. It's not about the language. It's about how broad you can think. Okay.
So,
thank you.
Yeah, so thanks, Khizar. We will move on to the next one. Kamran.
I see Muhammad hand raised. Muhammad Umar. I hope I didn't raise my hand.
Is it Umar?
Okay, there's another Muhammad Umar as well.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, Umar, over to you. And if possible, please open your.
Yeah, I can do that.
That's
That's
good.
you're fine.
Thanks so much. We want to see like we have more than 500 people with the name Umar in our FC4. Wow. I want to see who is this Umar.
Okay. Yeah. Hello. Hi, everyone. So I'll just give you a quick background and then I'll jump on my questions. I think it has two phases. I am working as a project manager as most of my career, and it's pretty much in the ID domain. I work on different tools like SAP, Salesforce, transitions, and so on. And my role is pretty much in terms of a project manager. And when I came here, I got a project management job, but then somehow I lost like few months before. Now, when I'm trying to get back, I'm still getting interviews, but I'm facing one issue here. Maybe you can guide me what could be the way forward. One of them is that I mean, whenever I go to the interview, there's a questions around like you worked on different technologies, but you acted as a project manager. What is something that you're hands-on? So let's say if I apply for SAP project manager job, I handle 3 end-to-end life cycles, but I haven't acted as a specific consultant, just as a project manager responsible for timeline, scope, kind of a thing. So do you think like there's a need here in this market where I need to grab myself an additional skill set to become a subject matter expert and then only go into that field? Like could be Salesforce, could be anything specific? Or should I just keep trying my luck and I'll eventually get a job? Because when I speak to the people here, I get different opinions. I have 2 different school of thought. Some says that you need to start from a step back, start from a BA role, and then you will eventually get hands-on experience and then you can grow in the local market. Whereas the other person says, no, we got this job and that's fine. And you should keep focusing on it and eventually you'll get a job. So what would be your recommendation and how do you think should be the way forward for me?
Nice. Okay. So like you said, you get answers like from both point of views. So my question is also yes and no. Mm-hmm. It's like, so I will try to explain both the point of views. So the thing is that ideally, if you're a product manager, I understand that even in Amazon, there is a strong requirement that if you want to manage software engineers, you need to be a software engineer first. Or if you're not a software engineer, you need to understand what they work on. But there are a lot of other companies as well where you don't need that. What I used to do is that I used to, for example, if I talk about software engineering, or for example, front-end development. So for example, if I was a manager and I was in your place, I would do a course on Udemy, for example, like 1 to 2 month course, so that I know the holistic level of what everything is doing. And the next time someone asks you that, do you have a hands-on on it? You don't need to tell them that you did a course on Udemy. You didn't just tell them, okay, yeah, in my past, one of the companies I was working, so I did come across this challenge and this is how I solved it. And you can just tell them the technical aspect of it. So I think that should be more than enough, because you're not looking for a hands-on, not looking for a hands-on role. If you're looking for a hands-on role, that changes the game completely. So what I would suggest you is that you've already spent a few months and you are working in a specific direction. I think it's right about time that you change the direction and try something different. And that different would be what I said, like, try to learn a specific skill set. Don't go deep into it, but spend like a month or something like that. Make a personal project, showcase it, and the next time someone asks you, did you have hands-on, don't tell them that you did like a month project on it. Just tell them a holistic level. Yeah, I used to work on it, and just share the technical details. It has worked for me like every time. Whenever I'm interviewing for a company, which is different from what I work in from day-to-day activity, someone asks me, have you worked on it? Even though I've just watched one video, I used to think, yeah, so in XYZ role, I did this, and this is how I implemented the knowledge. And it's always worked for me.
And an extension to this thing, I mean, there are different thing or technologies which are growing. What are the thing? If you can share a couple of things which are top of mind, like I know Salesforce is growing. Do you think there are any health tech industry or tools which we can use on? Like, I know that if I'm working with Salesforce or something, in supply chain, the Manhattan is the new version which is coming up right now. So I'm not sure. You might not have an idea right now, but do you think there are a couple of technologies which are really growing in the local market? I understand Salesforce could be one of them, but
yeah, I wouldn't be very sure about it. What I would suggest is just leave a message in our WhatsApp group if you're in it. And I think either me or some other subject matter expert would reply to you.
Yeah, because now if I'm trying to focus on it, I want to put my energy in the right direction and adopt one thing which I can at least focus on and improve further.
That makes perfect sense. Just leave a message over there. I'm pretty sure someone will answer to you. If no one does, I will do some research and get back to you on it.
Great. Thank you very much.
Right now,
Thank you very much.
so we have 2 to 3 minutes left. Do we have Kamran Imam here?
I saw some messages from him.
Yeah, I'm here.
So can you open Kamran mic? Please. I'm planning to do another session with Kamran Imam as well, so it's good to introduce him as well. This is the right time actually. So Kamran, over to you.
Thank you, Khurram bhai. Thanks so much for such a wonderful session. I'm pretty sure all the participants gained a lot from this session. I'm basically, I started my career as a petroleum engineer, and then I moved to Canada in 2018, and then I did a master's from University of Calgary in data science and analytics. Then I worked about a year in Stat Canada as a data scientist, and now I'm working for a startup called Ambient as a data scientist. So I would just like to briefly share with people who are asking if they want to transition from one field to data-related field. As Umar mentioned, he mentioned a couple of very good courses. One, the Coursera course by Andrew Ng. It's a wonderful course. Yeah, I mean, it's a paid one, but if you think that you want to switch to data science and you think that you are going to make a 6-figure salary yearly, I think a couple of $1,000s is worth the investment in that skill set. So try and start from there. And those who have done few boot camps or something, I would just say that don't get disheartened. Like for me, I completed my studies during COVID. And trust me, it was a pain to find a job in that time. It was extremely difficult to find a job during that time. So what I did, it was COVID, the new hot word, data was out there. Just grab it, do web scraping of the data, develop visualizations, finding trends, all that stuff that you learn. Try and do that, put that on GitHub. That's the best you can do, and then just keep on networking. And people who are talking about networking, you do make connections on LinkedIn and things like that. It's good. you have 400 connections. Just send them meeting requests. Worst come worst, they won't respond to you. Some of them would. Some may meet you over coffee. Some would like to meet you on a virtual call or something. But just try and develop those contacts. It is extremely important, especially here in Canada. I mean, to have proper networks and everything. And then once you have met someone, just don't vanish in thin air. Stay in their radar. Do regular checkups, but that doesn't mean you just start bugging them every now and then. Don't be a pain. But yeah, just be on their radar. So if anything ever comes up, they know that there's a person out there. He's a decent person, and that person can be a good cultural fit. So the person can recommend you to the hiring manager, and then and that's the best anyone can do for you. And yeah, I mean it's about perseverance. You got to persevere. I think we're probably a little over time, but yeah, I'm in the WhatsApp group. If anybody has a specific question for me, I can do that. And if you have any general question and I have any opinion about it, I'll definitely love to share.
I guess we are almost I know Neil has a lot of questions, but we need to finish this session. What we're going to do, Neil, if you have any quick 1 or 2 questions you can ask, and then we can adjourn this session, and then we do follow-up questions in our WhatsApp group as well. And by the way, we have done a quick poll. Actually, we have already done a poll actually, and people would like to continue this WhatsApp group. And we will add more IT people here in this group as well. We will bring some recruiters as well, so that it will be easy for people who are looking for job and also for their career guidance as well. And again, Kamran Imam is there, Zafar is there, Umar Tahir is there, Neil is there, Khizr is there. So there are a lot of people already there. There are people from some staffing companies are also there. So you can stay there, and we'll keep posting our jobs, IT related jobs into that group as well. So we'll keep that open group open. Yes, Neil, over to you.
Yeah, one small thing, like I saw a message from Faisal about my number. Faisal, just post your question on WhatsApp group and we can sync from there. I'm already over there. If you don't have the link to the WhatsApp group, I think we can also share it in this meeting invite as well. Like maybe we can also link it in YouTube comments and Zoom comments. So
Feroz, if you can share the group link to this chat, so that those who are not in the group, they can join that group. Just
I think just related to the number one is people asking on YouTube and in this group that what's your LinkedIn profile, Umar? So I looked it up while we were talking. So it's Mohammed Umar Tahir. It's really easy to find. So if anybody just looks it up, you can find him on LinkedIn. I believe Zafar had a question. Zafar, if you have a quick question, do you want to just ask it?
Yes, I would like to ask one question. I'm just trying to find the option that I can just basically raise my hand. There is no option for me inside to the Zoom.
Oh my goodness.
So I have one question. I'm thinking to change my job to the next jump, but when I saw some posts that are mentioning specifically don't move at this time because of some recession is coming and blah blah like that. So what's your actually opinion on that one, Umar? Is this a good time to jumping around to the good salary or something like that, or shall I have to stay with basically whatever I'm doing right now?
Whoever is saying there is a recession, they are not wrong, to be honest. Like there is a recession, and there are like complete hiring freezes in a lot of companies that I know about. So if you have an offer in hand, then why not, right? If it's an established company, you can some of the links that I shared, I think I shared Level.fi. There's also Glassdoor. You can go over there and just look at different reviews, how the company is reviewed at. If you have an offer in hand, just go for it. But otherwise, if it's not a reputable company, I would like to say that just stay where you are, because these are some turbulent times. And I've seen people like companies like Amazon as well. I remember I think this happened like a couple of months back. Someone in Amazon joined. They came from all the way from India. Amazon sponsored their visa. They waited for 6 months. They landed in Vancouver and their offer was rescinded. So, things are like crazy nowadays. So the purpose is not to dishearten you or anyone over here, but I think it's better to just stay a while. If you have to look for opportunities, if you have an offer in hand, then you can think about it. Otherwise, don't leave your current job for now.
So no, thanks everyone. Again, I'm going to adjourn this session right now. Any final words before we adjourn this session, Umar?
Okay. I think it has been a great session. We had a lot of questions. I'm really sorry we were not able to answer all of them. We will try to answer like just, I think someone would be recording all the questions that we have over here. We will try to get back on the WhatsApp group if we can. If needed, we can also do another session sometime later. We will have more context about things then as well. And one thing as well, what Kamran said, like send out invites and messages to LinkedIn. I think that's very important. I would like to just +1 on that. And I remember when I graduated, I was a fresh graduate, and I remember in someday I might show you guys my LinkedIn inbox. And I used to, I had a cover letter prepared where I was just marketing my FYP because that's the only achievement I had. And I used to send it to people in Google and Microsoft and stuff like these companies like that and I knew no one would reply. And out of 10 people, only one guy replied. I'm still in a friend with him. And if I get a chance, I will show you his messages. He used to send me such detailed responses, and he helped me a lot in, he got me my first interview in Pakistan. And after that, when I moved over here, he got me interviews in different fan companies and stuff like that. So I think I messaged like 50 people, only one of them replied. And it was a proper connection that everyone looks for. So it depends a lot on the luck. Stay persistent, keep on working for it, and inshallah you will get there. So, yeah.
Oh, thanks a lot, Umar, and thanks everyone. Thanks to my co-host Neil with us, and also thanks to Zafar Yusufi and Feroz, who did work background, and also all the participants who attended this session actually. So yeah, thanks a lot. We will be meeting in another session hopefully next month with some other carrier and with some other carrier host, with our host and guest, other co-host and the guest. So thank you everyone, and we will adjourn the session. Thank you everyone. And by the way, before we go, please Neil, put all the questions in the WhatsApp group so that Omar can answer those questions.